Uh, Welcome everyone to another USI Tech Talk. Today we're doing another Ask the Experts, where you guys can bring us some of your interesting problems, and then we'll review on what we would do to fix those. And if we don't have any, we'll go over some of the most interesting ones that we've had for the last couple of weeks. So I'll open this up to any of our attendees. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask, or should I kick off with one of our current client issues? You can go ahead and raise your hand if you have one. You got one, Nick?
Here. Yeah, I think I got something. Not sure if I can. Well, no, I'm not going to share a screen right now because that would. I don't need to show you what we're talking about. To do this, we can just kind of go through it and have an audio discussion in regards to it. So, customers got like an oil water separator tank. There's oil like leaching up the side of the tank. You can see it saturated into the concrete. And they're looking for a way to put a coating on this concrete tank, we call it, right? With the oil in there, it's going to be very difficult for anything to stick. So they came to me with the solution, with the problem, gave me a few pictures, and were wondering what we could possibly come up with. So you guys got any thoughts on what you would do in this kind of situation? And I'll let you know what I recommended.
So to clarify, so it's an oil leak in like a tank.
No, it's an oil water separator tank. So
Got it.
um, it's holding water and oil and it separates the two. But it's there really wasn't a coating on the concrete before, and the oil has saturated into that concrete now. So if you just go in there and lightly abrade the surface, you're likely to have oil penetrating back through, and you're not going to have any adhesion with whatever coating you get it on. Whatever chemical protective coating you decide that you want to use at that point. Doesn't matter what it is, it's just not going to stick with that oil. So,
Or are you looking to coat the whole thing, obviously?
yeah, we'll do the sides and the bottom. So, imagine, the sides here, front and back, left, right, and then the bottom is what we're planning on doing.
Any temperature constraints on that?
No, it's open to the atmosphere, so it's exposed to whatever atmospheric conditions are at the time. It's
And
in the northern hemisphere.
and if it's open to the atmosphere, is it
UV?
under any pressure really?
No, no, just the pressure of the water in the tank itself pushing out on the walls. So no real major pressure to speak of at all.
And then is there UV that is going to be hitting it at all with it being open or?
Hmm, good question. Most of the time, this is going to be submerged. So it'll be like an immersion type deal. But I don't think UV is going to play too big of a factor into it because they're not worried about the top of the tank, just the internals of the tank. Good question, though.
Yeah.
It's a question I'm going to follow up with the customer on for sure.
I think we have some good. I know we have some good Duramar products for this.
Yeah, I'm going through TDSs right now because I don't have one that comes to mind that would be able to apply for concrete repair onto an oily surface, unless you're using a tape. But you don't really want to use a tape in this application because you want to coat the whole thing.
Right. Then obviously we have our 104, which is good for repairs and such with oily contaminated surfaces. Duramar, they have their products for fixes.
I'm gonna have to go with you. Stump me on this one, Nick.
No worries. All right. So this is my idea. This is what I've come up with so far, and we're going to look into it a little bit further. We're reviewing tech datas and product specifications right now with the customer. But I'm thinking, let's get in there and clean the tank. Okay. Let's use some universal cleaner. Let's use some peat zorb, and let's use some elbow grease, and we're going to find a way to clean this tank. Pete Zorb is really neat because on your horizontal surfaces, not so much the vertical, that's going to be really difficult, right? That's just going to have to get blasted and cleaned, because you can imagine you holding Pete Zorb and trying to rub it on a wall. It's not going to work. But on your horizontal surfaces, it can pull it can pull the oil right out of the concrete. Mixing it with the universal cleaner will help agitate things. Using a wire brush will help get that down into the porous area of the concrete, and then it'll start leaching that oil up out of the concrete, and then the Pete Zorb will pick it up, and then you toss out the Pete Zorb when you're done. Again, EPA approved to be buried out in a landfill. One of the great features of that product. So real easy to get rid of the waste oil. Now you've got a clean surface. I would then use the USI oil stop primer, and that's going to create a protective layer that you can then put over your abraded concrete surface. No longer will any oil leach through. So that's your primer. Then you can go right on top of that with a Resimec 511, would be a great chemical protective liner that you can apply direct to concrete with that primer. Um, and I think that is going to be a great solution for what the customer is actually trying to get done.
Yeah, no, that's what I was that's what I was kind of thinking, the 511. And then if it is going to have a lot of UV, would you cover that with the 555? Or
You could, if you're worried about it, but the immersion is the key to that. So there might be a better chemical resistant coating that offers UV stability that I haven't even looked into yet. Like one coming to mind right now might be like a Chem Temp 74. I just can't remember if that has good UV protection. That's again why we got the tech data sheets right at our fingertips to make sure we're giving all the right advice to our customers and not just shooting from the hip, kind of like we are right now in this conversation.
So I need to verify something, because I think that I misheard you when you kicked off. I was assuming there was a crack somewhere in this container, but it sounds like there's not. They're just getting pure penetration. So I didn't ask enough questions.
Well, it could have been a miscommunication on my end as well, but yeah, no, it's just a tank. I don't have the dimensions of it handy right now, but the picture that I sent, it shows there's a little walkway bridge over the top of it. But this is going to be a great idea to get them moving in the right direction, because right now they've got stonewalled with, it's contaminated with oil. I'm not touching it. So
right.
Yep.
at least we've got some type of a solution that can go in the right direction and offer some light for the customer at the end of the tunnel.
Now, have you thought about like trying to use Pete Sorb just to suck all of it out? Like you make some sort of little unit that you can move around the tank or something to have it press up against the wall?
Yeah, I
I
mean, I
mean,
think you're probably going to be better off just blasting that down to a good CSP profile
yeah.
that you need, and then hitting it quickly with a primer, well, universal cleaner, and then the primer, because then at least you've got something for the coating and the primer to adhere to. And if you can get that oil stop primer on there before it leaches back out, you're going to be in good shape. It's going
Okay.
to contain that and hold it back in there, for the rest of the time.
And that Resimec 511 would be a fantastic product to coat that inside, as long as UV, like Bobby said, isn't an issue. And I mean, even if it is, I mean, the UV won't really mess with it for a couple of years. And maybe if they're only getting UV right in the top of it, you can do a top coat over the first couple of feet, and then where it's always, in immersion, you wouldn't have to
Yeah,
worry
it's
about
not
it.
always up to the top of the tank, right? So
Right.
yeah, that could definitely work in that kind of circumstance.
Nice.
All right. Anyone else have a, problem to tackle, or should I jump into one of the examples that I brought?
I got one here. Actually just came to my attention, so it's hot off the press. I have a customer who has a steel pipe that was poorly coated, high pressure steel pipe, and it was poorly coated and has an anomaly along the side. And he doesn't want to have to, take all the coating off, blast clean, recoat. He was wondering if we had some sort of solution that would be able to help with that. So I came up with something. and sent it along his way. He's excited about it, but I'm curious to
I'll
see
do.
if you guys have any
I'll,
ideas as well.
What is the anomaly? How big is it?
Yeah, so he didn't have all the details. I was, like I said, this just came in. I don't have pipe diameter. He said high pressure, but he didn't have the PSI. So we're kind of, this is kind of a vague um, situation for now. He said he's going to be getting me the details any second. So if they come through, I'll let you know. But for this situation, there is something I think that would.
I mean, there's one that comes right to mind for me. And I don't know if you're on the same page, but first thing I think of when I hear minimal surface prep pipeline, Viscotech. But when it comes to high pressure, there's probably a slightly better solution. What's on top of mind for you, Nick?
mm, I was leaning more towards. It depends on what the pressure is going to be, but I was leaning towards like an X Core 200 series. It's kind of where I was thinking. You're going to get the rigidity. You're going to get your wall thickness back, and with a safety margin, I think it's 4-1. It technically can hold back like 8,000 psi, so
Yep.
should pass all the testing requirements it needs to.
And I want to say those have a really high temperature threshold as well. I mean, if that
It's like
is
like
an issue.
350-ish or something like
Yeah,
that, I
and I
think.
don't think temperature is an issue, but you are correct on that, Chris. But yeah, I love it, Nick. That's kind of what I was leaning. That's what I went over with him. He was very excited to try it out, or at least bring it to the table to his boss and see what
Sure.
his thoughts were. And so I'm hoping that will be a good solution for them on this.
And the X core does go up to 450.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, 350 and 450. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that makes good sense.
And as low as -20.
That's wild.
Really, really flexible product there when it comes to the temperature resistance.
Well, that's great. That's a great example of how Bobby's able to take his customer and empower them and say, hey, look, here's something that should do what it needs to do. Ultimately, you and I don't get to decide that, but I'm going to give you all the tools and the ammunition that you need to then go to your customer and say, here, this is why this is going to work. This is why this is different. And they don't really have to think. That's part of the beauty of working with unconventional solutions is our ability to diagnose these issues here over the phone via pictures, via conversation, and then empower that customer to go to their customer with a solution that they can then in turn put on their specification or make a modification to what their current specifications are. Good job,
Yeah,
Bobby.
yeah, exactly. And he was, he's like, well, I don't even know how to go about calculating or how much I would need. And I told him that
Right.
I
That's
would be
what
able
we
to
do,
help him
man.
with all that. Yeah,
You
you
got
could
it.
just
We're
trust
the
that
experts.
we got your back. And he was very, very happy about that.
We may ask a lot of questions, but they're good,
I
important questions because these are big, important repairs that we make sure that everybody is safe during, before, and after.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, one of the things that's hidden me home from us chatting again today is asking the right questions and all of the right questions. Because I think on both of those, I missed a little bit of what was going on. Like, I mean, that X Core product is a fantastic product from Indemar that can, hold back a ton of pressure. I usually think about X Core and stop its when it comes to active leaks. Something, hey, I got something coming out of here and I need it blocked up right away. That way we're not losing pressure, we're not causing downtime, we're not causing a slippery, dangerous floor. Um, and asking all the right questions is always key when it comes to these repairs. And like Nick said, sometimes it can seem a little bit annoying when we go down a list of 50 questions, but really we're just making sure that the solution that we're providing is going to be the safest, most long-term solution that's going to cover exactly what you need on your project.
Absolutely. Sweet.
All right,
Anybody
we are.
else got any questions for us? Oh, yeah, we are timed. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
we are at time. So thank you everyone for joining us today. This has been another Unconventional Solutions Tech Talk. feel free to reach out to us. You can go to our website at usigroups.com. There's a ton of information there. There's a lot of contact information as well. There's multiple ways to get a hold of us through either our phone system or emailing us or just submitting a contact request direct on the website. So thank you again for joining us, and have a great week, everybody.
See ya.